What if I told you that true confidence isn't about being nice, charming, or endlessly agreeable, but about becoming someone who is feared, respected, and unshakable? Think about it. How many times have you tried to please everyone, only to feel invisible, ignored, or taken for granted? You show up, you smile, you compromise, and yet the power, the authority, the respect that you crave, it slips through your fingers. Maybe you've been told that confidence means believing in yourself, walking tall or repeating positive affirmations, but deep down you sense that there's something darker, something more primal at work. Because the truth is, people don't just respond to kindness, they respond to strength. And strength, when mastered, can look dangerous. This is where Niccolo Machiavelli enters the picture, a man often misunderstood, labeled as cold and ruthless, yet behind the infamous reputation lies one of the sharpest minds in history. His book, The Prince, is not just a manual for rulers, it's a mirror reflecting the raw psychology of human behavior. Machiavelli didn't sugarcoat human nature, he exposed it. He wrote that people are driven not by morality, but by fear, ambition, and self-interest. And if you've ever wondered why some individuals walk into a room and instantly command attention, while others fade into the background, you're already brushing against the very principles Machiavelli revealed centuries ago. Confidence, in its most potent form, is not about how you feel, it's about how others perceive you. Dangerous confidence bends reality. It forces people to take you seriously, even when they don't want to. It's the kind of presence that makes others hesitate before interrupting you, question themselves before challenging you, and remember you long after you've left. Have you ever seen someone like that? Someone whose voice cuts through the noise, whose posture exudes certainty, whose very silence feels heavier than the loudest argument. That's not an accident. It's psychology at its darkest and most strategic level. Stay with me, because what you're about to discover may challenge the way you think about power, relationships, and even yourself. The techniques hidden inside Machiavelli's philosophy aren't just for kings and rulers. They're for anyone who dares to stop living as a victim of circumstance and start living as the author of their own destiny. You might even recognize moments in your own life where you failed to assert yourself, where you tried to be loved instead of respected, and paid the price for it. Have you been there? Confidence without strategy is fragile. It cracks under pressure. It vanishes when questioned. But dangerous confidence, the kind that Machiavelli understood, has nothing to do with arrogance. It is built on perception, control, and a deep understanding of human psychology. It's about learning how people truly think, how they really behave, and how you can position yourself to be untouchable in their eyes. And here's the thing. Once you see confidence through this darker lens, you can never go back to the superficial advice you've heard 1,000 times before, because what Machiavelli teaches isn't pretty, but it works. And if you've ever felt small, overlooked, or powerless, this perspective could be the key to changing everything. So, let's step into the mind of Machiavelli together. Let's uncover the shadow side of psychology and discover how to transform yourself into someone dangerously confident. The journey begins right now. And as you let these ideas sink in, I want to ask you something important. Have you ever felt that tension between wanting to be liked and realizing that being respected might matter more? If this resonates with you, share your thoughts in the comments. Tell me about a moment when you struggled with confidence, or when you noticed the difference between being nice and being truly powerful. Your story might inspire someone else who is watching this right now and going through the same thing. And if you're finding value in this conversation, if it makes you stop and reflect in ways that most content never does, take a moment to like this video. It may feel like a small action, but it tells the platform that this message matters, that it's worth reaching more people who are searching for answers just like you. Most of all, if you want to keep exploring these deeper truths about psychology, philosophy, and the hidden dynamics of power, then make sure you subscribe. This channel is built as a space for people like you, curious, thoughtful, searching for wisdom that actually transforms how you see yourself and the world. Your presence here is what gives meaning to this journey. So, leave your comment, hit the like button, and subscribe if you haven't already. Because the more we build this community together, the stronger this message becomes. And now, let's go even deeper into Machiavelli's dark psychology and uncover how dangerous confidence can completely reshape the way you move through life. Most people grow up thinking that confidence is simply about feeling good in your own skin, speaking up when you have something to say, or walking with your head held high. That's what we are taught in school, in self-help books, in motivational speeches. But let's be honest, how many times have you seen someone who checks all those boxes still get ignored, overlooked, or dismissed? Ordinary confidence can make you look polished, maybe even pleasant, but it doesn't guarantee influence. It doesn't make people pause when you enter a room, and it doesn't create the kind of impact that forces others to respect your presence. Ordinary confidence is fragile because it depends too much on external approval, on the hope that others will validate you. And when that validation doesn't come, the whole facade cracks. Dangerous confidence is a completely different animal. It isn't about seeking approval, it's about commanding respect, whether people agree with you or not. It is rooted in a mindset that refuses to be shaken by rejection, criticism, or doubt. Dangerous confidence carries weight because it projects certainty, and certainty has power. When someone radiates this energy, people instinctively lean in even if they don't like them. This is why Machiavelli insisted that perception often matters more than truth itself. What people believe about you can shape your entire destiny, and if they perceive strength, they will treat you as strong. Think about the last time you encountered someone who didn't speak much, yet their silence felt louder than any voice in the room. That wasn't arrogance, it was presence. Dangerous confidence doesn't shout, it doesn't beg for attention. It simply exists with such clarity and force that it cannot be ignored. It is the transformation from needing acceptance to embodying authority. And once you cross that line, the way others respond to you will never be the same. Now, I want to go even deeper into this subject because understanding this shift is only the beginning. We're about to uncover the hidden mechanisms that make this kind of power possible and why so many people never tap into it. Commenter below. This makes sense to me. When Machiavelli wrote The Prince in the early 16th century, he wasn't trying to create a handbook for villains, even though history often painted him that way. What he did was strip away the illusions people cling to about human nature. He looked past the polished speeches, the promises of morality, and the appearances of virtue, and instead exposed the truth hiding beneath the surface. To him, people are not guided by noble principles, but by fear, self-interest, and the images they choose to believe. That might sound harsh, but if you observe carefully, you'll see it everywhere, in politics, in business, even in everyday relationships. People tend to follow what benefits them, avoid what threatens them, and trust appearances more than reality. This lens changes everything about how we understand confidence. If people are motivated by fear, then appearing unshakable is more powerful than simply being agreeable. If they are driven by self-interest, then they will align with those who project strength, because strength promises protection and opportunity. And if appearances carry more weight than truth, then the confidence you display becomes far more important than the doubts you may secretly feel. That is why so many individuals fail to project real confidence. They are too busy trying to be genuine in a world that doesn't reward honesty as much as it rewards perception. Ordinary people cling to the idea that if they are themselves, others will automatically recognize their value. But Machiavelli would argue that this is naive. He believed that rulers, and by extension, anyone seeking influence, must carefully shape how they are seen, because perception creates power. Dangerous confidence grows when you understand this hidden law. It's not about your inner feelings, it's about the impact you project outwardly. And once you see through this darker lens, you realize that playing the game of appearances isn't deceit, it's survival. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject because Machiavelli's revelations hold the key to transforming how you carry yourself in every situation. Machiavelli understood something that most people never fully grasp. In the theater of life, perception often outweighs reality. In The Prince, he makes it clear that it is not enough to be strong, wise, or virtuous. You must also appear that way. Why? Because people rarely see the truth for themselves. They rely on signs, images, and impressions. They judge you by what you project outwardly, not by the hidden reality of who you are inside. This is why so many talented, intelligent, or kind individuals remain unnoticed. They assume that being authentic is enough, but in a world governed by appearances, authenticity without strategy becomes invisible. Dangerous confidence operates within this framework. It doesn't care whether you feel certain every second of the day. It isn't built on fragile emotions or fleeting moments of motivation. Instead, it is rooted in the mastery of how others perceive you. If you stand tall, speak with conviction, and carry yourself with certainty, people will believe you are confident, even on days when doubt whispers in your ear. Machiavelli insisted that leaders must look decisive even when wrestling with uncertainty, because hesitation erodes trust. The same applies in everyday life. Others will treat you according to the strength you project, not the insecurity you hide. Think about it. Have you ever encountered someone who wasn't particularly skilled, yet they were treated with authority simply because they looked the part? A sharp suit, steady eye contact, a controlled tone of voice, and suddenly they are seen as competent, even commanding. That is the power of perception in action. Dangerous confidence isn't about lying to the world. It's about understanding that human beings are wired to respond to appearances before they ever reach for the truth. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because learning how to control perception is the first step toward reshaping the way others experience your presence. Most people spend their lives chasing approval. They want to be liked, accepted, welcomed into every group, and validated at every turn. On the surface, it seems harmless. After all, who doesn't want to be liked? But when you peel back the layers, this endless pursuit of approval is a trap. It makes you dependent on the shifting moods and opinions of others. One wrong word, one disagreement, one moment of rejection, and suddenly your sense of worth crumbles. That is the weakness of needing to be liked. It hands over your power to everyone around you. Machiavelli saw this centuries ago. In The Prince, he wrote one of his most controversial lines: "It is much safer to be feared than loved if you must choose." At first glance, it sounds ruthless, almost cruel, but beneath the shock lies a profound truth about human behavior. Love or approval is conditional. It changes when circumstances change, when people's interests shift, or when your usefulness to them fades. Fear, on the other hand, creates stability. People may not adore you, but they will think twice before crossing you. They may not cheer your name, but they will respect your boundaries. This doesn't mean becoming cruel or tyrannical. Dangerous confidence is not about intimidation for its own sake. It's about commanding control rather than begging for affection. It is the recognition that trying to please everyone leaves you with no solid ground, while establishing respect, even through an edge of fear, builds a foundation of authority. Think of it this way: the person who insists on being liked bends and breaks to meet expectations. The person who commands respect stands firm, even if it makes them unpopular, and in the long run, it is the second who holds real power. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because understanding this balance between control and approval reveals the hidden dynamics that shape every relationship you have. One of the greatest obstacles to true confidence is emotional dependence. Most people are slaves to their feelings, riding waves of approval and rejection as if their worth were dictated by others. They walk into a room and immediately scan for signs. Does she like me? Did he notice me? Am I being accepted here? And in that constant search for validation, their power dissolves. Confidence built on emotion is fragile, because the moment someone criticizes or ignores you, the foundation collapses. But dangerous confidence thrives on something entirely different: detachment. Machiavelli understood this with brutal clarity. In The Prince, he argued that rulers must learn to detach themselves from the chaos of emotion, because emotion blinds judgment. To lead, to influence, to remain unshakable, you must think strategically, not react impulsively. He knew that decisions made in anger, fear, or desperation often destroy authority. A ruler who lets his emotions show too easily becomes predictable, and predictability invites manipulation. The same is true in everyday life. If people know exactly how to trigger you, if your confidence can be shattered by an insult or inflated by a compliment, you have already surrendered control. This doesn't mean shutting yourself off from humanity or becoming cold-hearted. It means creating a distance between your inner state and external forces. Emotional detachment is the ability to remain centered while the world tests you. It is the discipline of observing your feelings without being ruled by them, of listening to opinions without needing them to define you. And paradoxically, when you stop clinging to the approval of others, you become far more magnetic. People sense that you cannot be easily swayed, and that steadiness commands respect. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because the link between detachment and power holds some of the most overlooked truths about building dangerous confidence. When people hear the word ruthless, they often imagine cruelty, coldness, or the absence of humanity. But Machiavelli's idea of ruthlessness was not about senseless destruction, it was about clarity and decisiveness. Strategic ruthlessness means having the courage to make hard decisions without hesitation, even when those decisions are uncomfortable or unpopular. This is where dangerous confidence separates itself from the shallow version of confidence that is often sold to us. Ordinary confidence wants to be admired. Dangerous confidence is willing to be misunderstood if it means protecting your strength and moving forward with purpose. Think about the relationships in your life. How many times have you tolerated toxic people because you didn't want to seem harsh? How often have you allowed others to cross your boundaries because you feared being labeled difficult? Strategic ruthlessness demands that you stop apologizing for setting limits. It means cutting ties with those who drain your energy, refusing to water down your identity to make others comfortable, and standing firm when your values are tested. This isn't about cruelty, it's about survival, because every moment you spend negotiating your worth with those who don't respect it, you weaken the very foundation of your confidence. Machiavelli taught that rulers who hesitate, who fail to act decisively, quickly lose authority. The same principle applies to you. Dangerous confidence requires that you act when action is needed, even if it invites criticism. Ruthlessness in this sense is not about harming others, but about refusing to harm yourself through indecision, fear, or endless compromise. When you embody this mindset, people feel it. They may not always like you, but they cannot ignore you. Now, I want to go even deeper into this subject because the way you construct and control your self-image determines how this ruthless clarity becomes visible to the world. Confidence does not begin in the eyes of others. It begins in the way you see yourself. If your self-image is weak, hesitant, or filled with doubt, that energy will seep into every word you speak and every gesture you make. But if you cultivate a vision of yourself as powerful, steady, and unshakable, the world will eventually mirror that back to you. Machiavelli understood this better than most. In The Prince, he argued that a leader does not need to be virtuous, courageous, or even moral in every sense. He only needs to appear that way. Why? Because people judge by appearances, and appearances create belief. This doesn't mean faking who you are, but rather shaping the way you present yourself with intention. A person who believes deeply in their own strength naturally projects it in their posture, their tone, their choices. Dangerous confidence grows from this deliberate crafting of self-image. If you want to be seen as decisive, you must carry yourself with the certainty of someone who does not waver. If you want to be seen as trustworthy, you must embody consistency in your actions. If you want to be seen as powerful, you must practice standing firm, even when doubt lingers in your private thoughts. The irony is that most people wait for external validation before shaping their self-image. They tell themselves, once others respect me, then I'll feel confident. But Machiavelli would flip this entirely. Respect comes after you decide who you are. You cannot wait for permission to step into authority. You must project it first. When you master your self-image, others adjust their perception to align with the reality you present. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject because the ability to transform darkness into power reveals how dangerous confidence can become your greatest shield and weapon. The phrase dark psychology often sounds sinister, as if it were something forbidden or corrupt, a dangerous secret that should never be touched. But Machiavelli never saw it as a curse. He saw it as a tool, a set of truths about human nature that, once revealed, could be used to survive, to protect, and to lead. Ignoring these truths doesn't make them disappear. It only makes you vulnerable to those who already understand and use them. That is why so many people fall victim to manipulation. They refuse to acknowledge the hidden motives that guide others, clinging instead to the comforting illusion that everyone operates with kindness or fairness. Reframing this darkness as power changes everything. When you recognize that fear often outweighs love, that appearances matter more than intentions, and that self-interest is the engine of most decisions, you stop being surprised by betrayal or disappointment. Instead, you become prepared. Dangerous confidence is born from this awareness, the knowledge that you cannot control human nature, but you can control your response to it. With this perspective, you stop being the prey and begin to move through life as someone who cannot be easily deceived or broken. This is not about becoming manipulative yourself, it is about building a shield. When you understand Machiavelli's insights, You no longer take words at face value. You learn to read motives, to spot weaknesses, and to act with clarity rather than naivety. That ability protects your time, your energy, and your destiny. And in a world where many disguise weakness as virtue, this kind of awareness becomes your greatest advantage. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject because the final step is learning how to distill all of these lessons into one ultimate transformation, becoming dangerously confident in a way that no one can shake. Dangerous confidence isn't about arrogance. It's about mastering yourself so completely that no one can shake you. It is the kind of presence that doesn't depend on applause, doesn't crumble under criticism, and doesn't bend just to be accepted. It is the steady fire of someone who knows exactly who they are and refuses to let the shifting winds of opinion define their worth. When you reach this level of confidence, you stop asking for permission to exist with power. You carry yourself as though you already belong wherever you stand, and that certainty rewrites the way people respond to you. Machiavelli revealed these truths not as abstract philosophy, but as practical tools. He knew that fear, appearances, and self-interest govern the world, and that those who master these forces can rise above manipulation and weakness. Ordinary confidence might get you noticed for a moment, but dangerous confidence creates a legacy. Think about how this applies to your own life. Where have you been? Too focused on being liked rather than being respected? Where have you allowed the need for approval to silence your authority? And where could you begin to shape your self-image with greater intention, projecting the strength that already lives within you? These questions are not just theory. They are the hidden blueprint to transforming how you move through the world. Confidence is not a gift you wait to receive. It is a decision you make, day after day, until others have no choice but to believe it too. So now I want to hear from you. What do you think when it comes to influence? Is it better to be feared or to be loved? Share your thoughts below in the comments, because your perspective adds depth to this conversation. And if you found value in this message, if it challenged you or gave you a new way of seeing confidence and power, then subscribe for more. This is only the beginning of the journey into psychology, philosophy, and the timeless wisdom that can reshape your life. If you've stayed with me all the way until now, it probably means this message resonated with you on a deeper level, and that's exactly why I'd love for you to be part of this community. Go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss the next conversations we'll have about psychology, philosophy, and the kind of wisdom that shapes a stronger mindset. And if you're still here, let me know in the comments by writing, "I'm with you until the end." It's a simple way for me to see who's truly walking this journey alongside me. Also, if this video gave you something to think about, give it a like. It's a small action, but it reinforces the connection we've built here and helps this message keep reaching those who need it. There's another video right here that continues this exploration and adds another layer to what we've talked about today. Click on it and keep going with me. I'll see you there.